Hi, welcome to Beef Cattle Institute's Ask the Experts. I'm Brad White and joined by two of our experts today, Dr. Bob Larson
Hey, good morning, Brad.
and Dr. Philip Lancaster.
Hi, Brad.
This is the show where our experts answer your questions. We always appreciate you sending them in. If you want to send in a question to us, you can send one to bci@ksu.edu. And with each question, we'll get a response from the experts. They each get a chance to respond and get up to 10 points based on their responses. Today's question comes from a listener that's asking about their cows, and they have a relatively small herd. They have some smaller cows. They have some of those cows that have gotten older, may have misshapen hooves, they may have bad udders, but they keep getting bred. And his question was, should I cull them? And if so, when is the best time to get the value back out of those cows? Is it right after they calve, when I sell her as a pair? Is it when she's pregnant, or should I wait and keep her in my herd as she comes up open? Philip, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to first address whether you should cull them or not. And, one of the most greatest expenses of getting a new cow into the herd is that developing that replacement heifer. And so if I have a cow that is producing a calf, even though maybe it's a little bit smaller, and she's an older cow that's been around for 5-6 years, she's making me money. She's paid off her cost of developing her into a cow, and so she's making me money at this point. So unless she does not wean a calf, then I think I would probably keep them around, especially in a commercial herd. But I might make sure that I'm not going to keep replacements out of her, especially if she has some physical issues that are genetic.
Excellent. So I think Philip's answer, and I'm going to give him 8 points for following the "my truck is paid for" theory.
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
Well, and I'm actually going to mostly agree with Philip in that I agree that the most important hurdle is that she's pregnant, and that really makes me want to keep her. But I'm going to say, some of these foot problems, some of the udder conformation problems, some of those are not going to get better, and I'm really concerned about them getting worse over time, and I may want to sell her at preg check time because she is pregnant, and she'll probably bring more than an open cow, and I may want to sell her now. So even though I'm kind of agreeing with Philip that I'm biased to keep her, but I'm going to say there are times, and probably maybe the way I'll answer it is, if I had 5 or 6 of these, I'd probably pick the half at least that I thought were going to be the most trouble and go ahead and cull them now. That's kind of a half answer.
Yeah, I agree. Half answer. But I was going to give you more points, but you ran a little bit over time.
I always do.
I still got to take off points. It's in our contract. So you've got 7 points. So Philip, as you talked about culling those cows or keeping, if you were, now let me reframe the question. You're going to sell a cull cow. Would you, A, sell her as a cow-calf pair, B, sell her as a pregnant cow?
That's a tough question, Brad, because the cow-calf pair, looking at it from a buyer standpoint, calf's on the ground. So I know she's got a live calf with her, and I'm willing to pay more for her because you've taken a lot of the risk of her losing that pregnancy or the calf dying at birth or something like that out of the equation. But from the seller's perspective, I've got additional costs into her to get her to that point from preg check to calving and selling a live pair. So it's really a tough call on that. What's your cost of getting her through the winter? And in the listener's question, they mentioned this year feed costs being really high. So for this particular year, that may not be a good decision.
Yeah.
Bob?
I'll lead with, of course, it always depends, but my bias would be I would probably prefer to sell her as a pregnant cow just to avoid the additional costs of feed and the labor of getting that calf on the ground. So I would prefer to sell her as a pregnant cow versus waiting for her to calve and selling them as a pair.
I totally agree. I think that's, you shift some of the risk out. You don't have that feed cost. Now, based on the year, there may be times that it makes sense to feed her and get her forward. So what we ended up with today was Philip ended up with 9, and Bob, you ended up with 8. You made a good comeback. It was right there. I thought it was in the cards, but it just wasn't. So this time we were able to have a great question. If you have a question for us that you'd like to ask, you can send us an email to bci@ksu.edu.